Happy holidays, folks. Back with another Christmas music reaction, and we're going back to this traditional Christmas CD. And as I try to explain in the description for the version of Angels We Have Heard on High I reacted to from the CD, according to Discogs, this was recorded by the Nashville Christmas Orchestra with the Manhattan Chorus. But when I uploaded that reaction to YouTube, YouTube Studio designated it as something else. I forget the group that it was highlighted as, but yes, for the time being, I'm just going to keep going with what it says on the Discogs entry for this release because it has all the tracks in the correct order. So yes, I don't quite know who is behind this, and indeed, even in the booklet, it doesn't give any clear indication who is responsible for the performances on this CD. So yeah, it's a bit of an ambiguity. Nevertheless, we're going to listen to the performance of The Holly and the Ivy on this album. People might know I'm hugely fond of this carol. It's one that doesn't quite go back as far temporally for me, which is to say, for the first few holiday seasons when I was a very young kid and I began hearing Nat King Cole and Johnny Mathis and Perry Como and some of these other singers, I don't remember any of them doing The Holly and the Ivy on those albums that my family had. But as I got a bit older and as I got to be a teen in the 90s, it's one that I heard, instantly enjoyed, and have ever since sought out on different compilations and in different Christmas concerts. So I'm hugely fond of it, and I think it has one of those old time, like at least 19th century, if not earlier, type of sounds to it. Now, it says on the booklet inside, it doesn't say who did these performances, but it does indicate which ones are instrumental and which ones aren't. And this one is listed as an instrumental, so I don't quite know what to expect of the arrangement, but I do not think we're going to hear any vocalists, so let's give it a listen, and theoretically, if Discogs is right, that means we are going to hear the Nashville Christmas Orchestra, but not the Manhattan Chorus. So in any case, let's give it a listen. This is the traditional Christmas CD, and it's the performance of The Holly and the Ivy. That's clever. I mean, obviously, from the very first moment, I was thinking it sounded like a music box or, like the type of more metallic arrangement that comes from a holiday ornament that plays music when you open it. So, yeah, it already had that feeling. And then by the end, it sounded like, because those types of music boxes, you crank them and they play at regular speed until they start to get to the end of the amount that you cranked it, and it starts to slow down until it stops. And as the tune came to an end there, it did that. It slowly came to a conclusion by reducing in speed. So it very much felt like a music box. Now, having said that, there was roughly about halfway through, it brought in some like synth pad kind of, synth chord keyboard layers, including one that it sort of sounded like that synth chorus where it's like, it almost sounds like a vocal, but I think it's just, on a keyboard. So yeah, there was a bit more depth or like layering than you would typically hear in a music box rendition of a piece of music, and yet it felt more or less like that with a little bit of a sort of 80s keyboard addition. So yeah, I very much enjoy it. Again, it's a carol I'm fond of. I will admit that without vocals, including like different members of the chorus, some with a very high, pristine, like, youth boy choir type of voice, and then a like heavier, lower voice, without the alternation of the pitch in the melody, it sounds a bit more constrained or a bit less expressive, but it is still a beautiful version. And if I had a music box with the Holly and the Ivy programmed into it, I would very much be interested to hear it this way. So I don't think it's quite as good as some choral versions I've heard. Again, is it the Cambridge? I think it's the King's College Choir, I'm not sure. I reacted to it a couple years ago, but that might always be my favorite version because it's like just the particular singers and the way the chorus is arranged and the performance is just perfect. But I do enjoy this even if it's not on that level. And again, once we get to, in fact, I was going to say once we listen to one of the tracks on here that is not instrumental, we'll eventually hear this Manhattan chorus. But I was noticing there's a couple tracks on here that aren't regular Christmas tunes that I'm familiar with, which is to say Always Christmas Time. That one doesn't really ring a bell by name. Maybe I've heard it, but yeah, we'll perhaps listen to that this holiday season. In any case, let me know what you think, and as I said, we'll see what YouTube's algorithm says in terms of who this performance is by, but I'm just sticking with the Discogs description for the time being. In any case, I will see you for the next one. Peace.